Hey everybody, Ken Wink here from Summit Financial to provide a special update considering everything that's going on in the world right now. So the markets have been experiencing an increased amount of volatility as we enter the second quarter of 2025. Probably everybody's seen that who's looked online or watched the TV in the last couple of weeks here. So the current catalyst is the administration's views on tariffs and the announcement of the reciprocal tariffs last week. So in one of our latest blog posts, we break down what exactly a tariff is and go into a little bit of detail about how it can affect the stock market. So the most recent updates to this tariff policy have caused the stock market to drop further. And we've seen this type of movement in the past sort of spook investors or make them a little bit nervous. Some investors or some of our clients are actually calling in and just saying that they're thinking about moving to cash. So moving to cash can definitely help you avoid some downside risk, but it also causes investors to potentially miss the upside potential. And if you miss out on the potential upside, that could be considered what we would call an opportunity cost of moving to cash. So it's basically a trade-off that if you're willing to give up on the potential for future downside, you're also missing out on this upside potential. So in our experience, when there's this type of sentiment, when people are really, really freaking out about everything, that's typically a time where the market can actually turn around and start heading in the right direction, even though no one really expects that to happen. So you just got to remember that sometimes when things are very, very extreme, when fear's at a high, that's when things actually turn it around, believe it or not. So JP Morgan releases a guide to retirement periodically, and their 2025 guide has a very insightful graphic that we wanted to share with you. So essentially, this chart shows the impact of missing the best days in the market, which is what could happen if a person moves to cash. So from roughly the last 25 years, if you did not get out of the stock market for even one day, 10,000 would have turned to 71,750. If you miss the best 10 days in the market, your performance drops to 6.1%. And the underperformance is even greater if you miss the best 20, 30 days good days of the market. So if you move to cash, you potentially run into this problem where you could miss some of the best days, which could significantly hurt your long-term performance. To further stress this point, JP Morgan includes a few additional statistics. So 7 of the 10 best days actually occurred within the 2 weeks following the 10 worst days. And even more specifically, 6 of the 7 best days occurred right after some of the worst days. So for example, the second worst day of 2020, so in the middle of COVID, everything's looking horrible, it was immediately followed by the best day of 2020. So all these statistics highlight that if the market is experiencing some really big drops, there's also the potential for a steep rebound very shortly, if not immediately afterwards. So one way of looking at this is that yes, if you get out of the market, you could miss some downside, but you could also miss some upside, which could hurt your long-term potential. Another important thing that we wanted to bring to your attention is the fear-greed index. So this is a free, statistic that you could look at online. If you just Google search fear-greed index, you can see it for yourself. But basically, when the fear-greed index is at extreme fear, it's normally a pretty good time to buy. When people are really, really scared, it's normally a buying opportunity in our opinion. When things are at extreme greed, that's normally a bad time to buy. Now, human emotion is the number one enemy of most investors, because when things are going really, really well, a lot of people say, well, gosh, the market's doing well, I want to buy more. When you should actually be doing the opposite. That's when you should be selling high and taking profits. When things are really, really horrible, like right now, everyone's really, really scared and they're saying, gosh, I should sell my investments. I'm so scared I'm going to lose more money, when that's actually an opportunity potentially to buy low. Look, past performance cannot predict future performance. There's a number of different statistics that we've seen recently that are important to remember. They're not fail-safe. There's no indicator out there that works 100% of the time. Just in the past week, we've had a situation where the market went down more than 4% 2 days in a row. And when you look at when that's happened historically, it's been a buying opportunity. Again, past performance cannot predict future performance, but when you look farther out, historically, there's a 100% chance the market's going to be higher in the future. So each investor has to look at all this data and decide for themselves, the market's down roughly 20%. Is now the time to sell? Yes, things could get worse, but if you get out, just know there is this opportunity cost that if the market does rebound very quickly, just in the last 24 hours, Europe has announced that they are going to remove all tariffs on United States industrial goods. That's a huge win for the United States. Vietnam, same thing. They're getting rid of all tariffs. So if these tariffs are removed, and if United States workers and manufacturers can start making stuff, in the long run, it can potentially be a win. If you Google search just shrimp fishermen in the United States right now, they're ecstatic because the United States is going to be putting a tariff on cheap foreign and farm-raised shrimp. Now these United States fishermen all over the East Coast and in Louisiana, they're not going to be able to shrimp their fish again. So they've had boats, they've been waiting. Some of them in the articles that you read will say they actually bought bigger boats in anticipation of this happening. So there is the potential for an economic boom in the long run because there's so many U.S. jobs that are being created because of this. Time will tell. Nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. At this point, we would love to have a conversation with you if you're thinking about getting out of the market, if you're nervous about the market. We're trying to communicate like this so that people know what we're thinking. No one knows exactly what's going to happen, and past performance can't predict future performance, but historically, this may actually be a buying opportunity, believe it or not. Time will tell. On behalf of Bob Wink, Ken Wink, Jim Wink, Zach Backner, James Baldwin, and Daniel Ladzinski, thanks so much for watching. Just keep in mind, we are always here for you. Reach out to us anytime if you'd like to touch base. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Summit Financial,
working with people you trust.